Tonight's lead, President Obama has been going after Republicans, and he's already knocked that smile off their faces. Today, all the buzz is about how he's proudly calling himself a warrior for the working class and fighting for jobs on Main Street, not Wall Street.
The Republicans in Congress, they call this class warfare. You know what? If asking a millionaire to pay the same tax rate as a plumber makes me a class warrior, a warrior for the working class, I will accept that. I will wear that charge as a badge of honor. The only warfare I've seen is the battle that's been waged against middle-class families in this country for a decade now.
Bloomberg News asked the nation's top economists about the Obama jobs plan, and they say it would prevent a recession next year. And Moody's says it would create 1.9 million jobs. Of course, Republicans can't admit the president has the right plan. They're still clinging to the same old ideas that got us in this mess.
He came out with his jobs plan, for instance. I don't believe it was a serious attempt to get the economy going again. I think it was a campaign tactic. The people of America recognize that what we need right now is not a stimulus.
It's merely a package of all the failed policies that President Obama has already tried.
The president's plan is worth fighting for. It's why earlier today I was with labor and civil rights leaders announcing a march for jobs and justice next month in Washington. We're united against the extreme right-wing agenda.
Right-wing politicians across this country seem hell-bent on stripping away the rights we hold dear.
We see more poverty. We see less wealth. We see a hollowing of the middle class.
We will fight for the passage of the American Jobs Act.
Support President Obama's bold plan to put people back to work.
At the end of the day, when all the partisan politics is over, when all the posturing is over, when all the spinning and the sound bites are over, people need jobs. People need to feed their families, and everyone has been heard from but the people. That's why groups are coming together. That's why we're going to Washington. That's why every night I'm going to keep pounding. It's about the people working, not the big guys at the top, but the people that matter that's on the ground. Joining me now is NBC News political analyst Ed Rendell, former Democratic governor in Pennsylvania, and MSNBC political analyst Richard Wolff. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Reverend Shelton.
Governor, I think, I was talking to some of the co-organizers today in Washington. I really don't think people understand how big this is, what we're talking about in terms of answering the problem and what the jobs plan is. Let me show you what the president said today, because I think he understands that a lot of people don't understand this is a huge deal. This is a huge piece of business. This is not just passing some normal piece of legislation. Let's look at what the president said.
This is not a small piece of business. It's estimated that if we pass the jobs bill, we would expand the gross domestic product by about 2%, and you would see 1.9 million people potentially find jobs as a consequence of this bill.
1.9 million people, Governor Rendell. That is significant.
It's enormously significant. To add nearly 2 million jobs is exactly what the nation needs right now, plus a lot of capital investment. And Al, if any of your listeners out there or viewers think that doesn't make sense, let me tell you, every economist and analyst has said $1 billion of infrastructure spending creates 25,000 jobs. There is $75 million of right up front infrastructure spending in this. If you extrapolated that out times 25,000, that alone is 1.77 million new jobs. And I know it works because Pennsylvania in the original stimulus got $1 billion for our roads and bridges, our work on roads and bridges. We tracked it, Al, and it created 24,800 jobs, just right under that 25,000 figure. So I am confident that this will produce nearly 2 million jobs, some significant capital investment, and will also help us retain jobs. It ought to be passed. The Republicans have approved of infrastructure in the past. They've approved of these type of tax cuts. We ought to pass it and
But
put
what
the
are we
politics.
arguing about? I mean, to me, when you're talking about it, sounds like a lot of numbers, it's data, it's all of that. But we're talking about real, live families, people that are watching us right now that don't know how they're going to make ends meet. And we're arguing, we're debating when there's really no real plans on the table. When I was in Washington today, it's the president's plan on the table. All of his critics on the left and the right, Governor, has not put a plan on the table.
Right.
So what are we arguing about? A plan against a no plan?
The only thing they say is let's cut taxes and cut regulations. Well, even assuming that works, and our past history showed that it doesn't, it's going to take time to work. But the president's plan will bring immediate, in the next 12, 18 months, it'll bring significant relief to the country. And when you think of infrastructure jobs, Al, think of people working on those bridges and roads, but also working back in the factories that produce the steel and concrete and asphalt necessary to make that bridge and road work go.
Richard, the American people, look at this poll. The American people seem to support overwhelmingly the kinds of things that the president is advocating. If we look at the poll, 85% support tax cuts for small businesses. That's not close. 85%. Funds for the infrastructure, 72%. Unemployment benefit extension, 56%. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I don't understand what the argument is, even among so-called progressives who also have not put out a plan other than a plan to keep arguing about the president. What are we talking about? People are suffering. The overwhelming majority of American people saying, we agree with this. Why aren't we just rallying and moving this forward?
Well, it's politics, obviously, but, you know, watching Republicans campaign against jobs right now reminds me of Democrats campaigning against defense spending in 2004. It may give you a lot of satisfaction. You don't like the sitting president. You can make a credible case against him on all sorts of different things. There are numbers Republicans want to pick on when it comes to the economy that give them justification for what they're doing. But it's not where the country is right now. It's not where the country is politically. After all, they all got elected in 2010, those Republicans saying they were going to create jobs. And it's not where the heart of the policy debate really needs to go. So, you know, hearing Democrats in 2004 say Bush made the country less safe, therefore we need to go against the troops, it didn't work then. It's not going to work for Republicans right now to say we have other ways of doing this, therefore we're going to stop 1.9 million jobs being created. You can put the policy reason to one side. I just don't see the politics working for them on this right now.
Well, when you talk about politics, I want to throw this to you and Governor Rendell. When you say it's only politics, I'll tell you why I believe that you're absolutely right, and I'll give you the evidence. Look at the fact that a lot of the elements in this, some of the president's opponents actually supported. Governor Romney himself supported some things that now he doesn't support because they're in the Obama plan. So it's almost like I will do whatever is right as long as someone that I'm opposed to doesn't say it's right. Let me show you what Romney said out of his own mouth so I wouldn't be accused of misquoting Willard.
No question, but the investment in infrastructure makes enormous sense for our country. I like the idea of saying, look, if you as a company hire someone who's been out of work for a long time, or somebody who's in an industry that's really suffered and is not going to recover, if you hire one of those people and you're about to train them, therefore, we'll give you a credit, a tax credit.
But would you be for what he's advocating, at least for now, an extension of the payroll tax cut?
I'm all in favor of keeping taxes down and keeping burdens down.
Now, that's Willard Mitt Romney himself. That's not me quoting him. That's not me reading him. That's Willard, live and in Technicolor. But now he says something different. Playing politics while people are unemployed like this? Richard?
Yeah, no, look, it's not just him, though. I mean, you can hear the words flip-flop. You can see the ads being cut right now. You don't have to be a high-paid consultant to do that. But Rick Perry does it, too. Rick Perry, although, you know, he says he's against everything in terms of the stimulus, wanted those stimulus dollars in his state. Mitch McConnell, the man who says he wants a one-term president, wanted those stimulus dollars. You know, it was President Bush who had the green-collar loan program, the green-collar jobs loan program for energy-efficient vehicles that Republicans are going against so hard right now. They are not consistent. They're not authentic. That is a major problem for them as they try and present themselves as different kind of Republicans and politicians in this
Governor
cycle.
Rendell?
I agree with Richard. I think the Republicans made a huge mistake. The president did a masterful job in his speech pointing out to the American public that every component of this has had significant Republican support in the past. You saw Mitt Romney there talk about three crucial parts of this program: infrastructure, payroll tax deduction, and tax credits for hiring unemployed workers.
Which he agreed with at that time.
Which he agreed with. So now if they say no, if they say no to every single component of this, they're running a huge political risk. And I think even as sometimes as scared as our incumbent Democrats are in the House and Senate to campaign like Democrats, this is a time, if we do it right, we can blow them out of the water.
Governor, let me show you a poll about raising taxes on income above $250,000. 67%, over two-thirds, approve. Only 30% disapprove. The American people are clear. Willard, come home, Willard. Come home, Willard. You know what's right. You said it yourself, Willard. There's still room for you to come home to the American people that need jobs.
The tragic part of this is that the president's right about another thing. This country and this economy can't wait another 14 months for action to straighten it out. People are hurting. People are in desperate shape. We need to get people back to work now. For God's sakes, I implore the Republicans, put the politics aside for a couple of months. Pass this thing. If you want to modify it. But let's get the country moving again.
We can fight in January. We'll have the election, but let people go to work. Ed Rendell, Richard Wolff, thank you so much for your time.